Hello everybody, hope you're all well. If you're new here, my name's Benito. I'm a PhD student in biology at the University of Bristol, where I study the brains and sensory systems of tropical butterflies, which, in fairness, I've spoken about quite a bit on this YouTube channel already. So if you are new here, then check out some of the links in the description of this video to learn more about the nuts and bolts of what I do. But one thing I haven't mentioned on this channel yet is this document. Now this is a review which I co-authored with other members of my lab group earlier this year. It actually came out in September and I've been meaning to make a video on it since then, but life's been a bit busy at the moment, so I've only just got round to it, but better late than never, I suppose. The title of the review is Linking Ecological Specialization to Adaptations in Butterfly Brains and Sensory Systems. Bit of a mouthful, but that's not really what I want this video to be about, actually. I kind of just want to spend a bit of time explaining what a review actually is and how they come about in the first place. But I mean, no doubt I'm going to get sidetracked into speaking about why butterfly brains are cool at some point. Just as a pre-warning, you know. So this was published in a journal called Current Opinion in Insect Science, and it was in a special issue all about insect neuroecology, the intersection between neuroscience and ecology, which I'll explain a little bit more about in a bit. Essentially what a review article is a summary of all the work that has been done in that research area already. Well, at least that's kind of half of the point of the review. It's to show the reader what has been done, because ultimately the main point of doing science is to produce research articles, to produce new science. That's obviously the most important thing as a scientist that we've got to do. So a review is kind of a game of two halves in a way. The first half is all about stating what has been done before, a summary of all those separate research articles jammed together into one document. And then the second half is explaining where the gaps are. And this is the most important thing, really, for science to move forward, because as you create new science, you also create new questions. So what a review article does is it really pinpoints where those main gaps are. So scientists of the future can read this and take their research ideas in those directions to fill those gaps, which will answer more questions, but also in turn ask more questions as well. That's kind of the beauty of the scientific process, I suppose. Now this was actually something that my supervisor was actually invited to write. It doesn't always work like that, you know. Sometimes a lot of scientists just write reviews for the love of doing it. But of course, as I've just said, the main point of being a scientist is to produce new research, and scientists are quite busy people, so they don't have a huge amount of time on their hands for writing reviews. So this only really came about because someone contacted my supervisor and said, will you write this review? And then he got me and other people in my lab group to contribute to it. Although I should say from the get-go actually that my contribution to this was fairly minimal relative to the other authors. So on the actual publication, my name is second there, but that doesn't mean by any means that I contributed the second most out of everyone. Usually how it goes in academia is that it's the first and the final author which contribute the most to the piece of work, and that's most certainly the case here. So hats off to Antoine, who's a postdoc in our lab, and Steve Montgomery, who is my PhD supervisor. So credit where credit's due, but nevertheless it's still quite nice to have your name on there, I suppose. But in terms of structure, a scientific review follows a kind of similar structure to a scientific research paper. There's an abstract at the start, which I've always found is a little bit pointless actually, because the abstract is the review of the review. So it doesn't tell you an awful lot. But then you've got a short introduction, and then you've got different sections. You've got a nice figure there, lovely butterfly brains. Look at that, sexy as hell. And then at the end there's a short little conclusion. So what is this review all about then? I said the title earlier, it didn't really make that much sense even to me, to be honest with you. But essentially what it's all about is showing what incredible model systems butterflies are in the field of neuroecology. Now the field of neuroecology is a very, very young field indeed, and it's all about, as I said earlier, combining neuroscience with ecology, which on the outset seemed like quite different areas of research, right? If you think of what a neurobiologist does, you would imagine someone in a lab looking at neurons, dissecting brains, that sort of thing. When you think of an ecologist, you think of someone outside getting muddy, watching birds, collecting insects, all that sort of thing. But when you think about it, if a neurobiologist wants to really understand why the brain is structured how it is, then you can't really do that without thinking about where these creatures are living, their habitats, their ecology. And butterflies are perfect models for studying that. And this review takes you through 4 main reasons or aspects of butterfly biology that make them particularly well suited for this. The first one is the one which I'm probably most interested in, and that's sensory ecology. Butterflies occupy a really amazing diversity of sensory ecologies, and even better than that, we know a lot about them, and that's probably because butterflies are quite pretty, they're quite charismatic, so that means ecologists have spent a lot of time studying them and finding out about their natural history, and we can use that natural history to our advantage if we want to understand how they're adapted, how they're evolutionarily adapted in their brain and their sensory systems to where they live. The second reason why butterflies are such an interesting model system for the study of neuroecology is the various behaviours and interesting interactions they have with their host plants. Now, there's been a lot of work done already on how butterflies are able to detect their host plant, for example, through colour discrimination and the ability to recognise different leaf shapes and whatnot. But obviously, it's not entirely visual. Smell, olfaction, is a very important cue when it comes to discriminating between different host plants as well. And how all those different sensory cues are integrated in the brain is something which is a really, really active area of research at the moment. Third reason why butterflies are great in neurobiology is because of their impressive diversity of intraspecific communication abilities. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, intraspecific communication is basically how butterflies talk to each other, and a lot of work has been done on that already. For example, we know that butterflies use their wing patterns to choose who to mate with. But of course, as I said earlier, with the flowers and the host plants, smell is undoubtedly very important in the sexual world of the butterfly as well, and there's a whole lot of things that we need to learn about how that works and how it links up with vision. And the fourth reason is the various surprising cognitive abilities that butterflies have. For example, butterflies are able to associatively learn different cues, whether that be where nectar sources are, where their host plants are, where their mates are, that sort of thing. And understanding the neurobiological basis of all of that could be quite interesting. This all relates back to our friends of ours, the mushroom bodies, which are associated with, well, they're associated with associative memory. And if we study and if we compare different groups of butterflies, different species of butterflies with different size mushroom bodies, and link that to their ecology and their natural history, and then that should hopefully tell us what are the ecological requirements for the evolution of cognition. So that's everything that's been done so far in the field, but as we've spoken about these different things, hopefully you're getting the impression that there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. There's all sorts of things that we need to find out, and that's ultimately, as I said, the main point of a review article. I mean, the most studied insect on the planet by a long way is the fruit fly. So if you want to find something out about insects, insect evolution, that sort of thing, as a biologist, your default option is to go to Drosophila, the fruit fly, because we know everything about the fruit fly and we can do lots of really interesting experimental manipulations with the fruit fly very easily. And there's been some advancements in the kind of neuroecological field in Drosophila, but the thing is with butterflies is that they're more diverse, and once more we know a lot more about their ecology because they're just more interesting. So if we can link up the techniques that have been put in practice in the fruit fly and apply them to butterflies, then we stand a really good chance of understanding neurobiology in an evolutionary and ecological context. But anyway, I'm rambling on a little bit too much. If you want to find out more, then read the review article. Obviously, I'll post a link to that in the description of this video as well. linking ecological specialisations to adaptations in butterfly brains and sensory systems. What a corker. But in the meantime, thank you for watching this. I hope it answered some questions on how literature reviews work. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well so you can keep updated with all my wildlife and science adventures. You can also follow me on social media for even more exclusive content as well. But in the meantime, thank you so much, love you all, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye!
Let's get scratching.
Hello everyone, I hope you're all well. If you're new here, my name's Benito.